pull this. I can take this off, right?
No, it's okay.
Oh, look, they Lou.
Just gonna turn on my mic here.
Yeah.
Hey, Terrence. How you doing, Terrence?
That's a very good question. I think it's
All right, colleagues, good evening, good evening. My name is Kreiner Cash. I'm your superintendent of schools for the Buffalo Public Schools. Come on in, get settled, have a seat. The more intimate we are, the better, although stay spaced. But if we're all right in here, that works well for me. And we are ready to begin. Dr. Reynolds, your approval? All right. So colleagues, good evening. I'm glad to see you tonight. I'm glad that you've come out. I thought, and the board and I, that while we have an opportunity, the weather's still warm, COVID is raging, but how many more opportunities will we get to sit, talk, and get caught up on all that has been happening in the Buffalo Public Schools over the last 18 months. 18 months. That's how long we have been off of our normal schedules in the school system, in our families, and in the community writ large. So we thought it would be a great idea to come out and just have a conversation with you. Now, to structure it a little bit, I have prepared a few slides, probably 5, 6, 7 slides around some topics that my staff and the board, through listening to their constituents, feel you would be interested in hearing updates about. So we will be giving some updates on some of the important aspects of our work. That shouldn't take too long. There's some important, really exciting updates, and then there's some really just important updates, especially about COVID, vaccinations and testing and so forth.
my staff.
And then we're going to open it up
board through listening to their constituents.
with
Feel
you
you would be
so
interested in hearing updates.
and then just be an informal.
So we will be giving
Fair
some
enough.
updates on some of the
Right. Let's get
important
started.
aspects of our work.
So colleagues,
That shouldn't
first
take
and
too
always is our education part.
Important, really exciting
And it's an
updates,
eloquent,
and then there's some really just
concise
important
statement
updates, especially
of what
about
we
COVID,
do, what our
vaccinations,
work is,
testing,
what our
topics that
expectations
my
are.
staff. And then we're going to open it up board through listening to their constituents. Video you would be interested in.
Very simple.
And just be informed.
We will
be
guarantee
giving
pathways to success.
fair updates.
We will guarantee that we provide
important aspects of
equitable
our work.
access,
colleagues, should first
opportunity,
and always
equality in all that we
Is
do.
our education part really
Understand.
exciting
And it's
updates,
eloquent,
and there's some really just
placing a
exciting
premium
updates,
premium
especially
on
what we do,
education.
what our
Sure
vaccinations,
your child
topics that
is in school.
and then we're going to open it up board through listening to their constituents. Video you would be interested in.
Very
Hearing
simple.
updates.
Here's the assignment.
And we will guarantee pathways to success. We will guarantee that we provide important aspects of our work.
Access.
Colleagues, should first and always is our education part really exciting updates, and there's some really just exciting updates, especially what we do, what our vaccinations, topics that my staff. Then we're going to open it up board through listening to their constituents. Video you would be interested in. Very simple. And we will guarantee pathways to success. We will guarantee that we provide important aspects of our work. So colleagues, should first and always is our education part really exciting updates, and there's some really just exciting updates, especially what we do, what our vaccinations. vaccination topics that they will be open to the board to listening to their constituents. Many of you would be interested in very simple things. We would be looking at ways to consider things. We would guarantee important aspects of our college should take two ways. Is our education important, really excited as things? There's some really just nice things and what we do, what our vaccination topics is. They will be open to the board to listening to their constituents. Many of you would be interested in very simple things. We would be looking at ways to consider things. We would guarantee important aspects of our college should take two ways. Is our education important, really excited as things? There's some really just nice things and what we do, what our vaccination topics is. They will be open to the board to listening to their constituents. Many of you would be interested in very simple things. We would be looking at ways to consider things. We would guarantee important aspects of our college should take two ways. Is our education important, really excited as things? There's some really just nice things and what we do, what our vaccination topics is. They will be open to the board to listening to their constituents. Many of you would be interested in very simple things. We would be looking at ways to consider things. We would guarantee
one of the topics on the flyer that I talked about
should take two ways. Is our education important, really excited as things? There's some really just nice things and what we do, what our vaccination topics is.
how well, how fast, how high.
To their constituents, many of you would be interested in.
So just a few of the main points
ways to consider things. We would guarantee important aspects of our
one of the things that you understand is how to assessments, lots of new assessments that we're bringing into work to help us know and grow our students, know where they are, know where they need to be. That's a big deal. And that's our best response is another big part of the academic achievement work. And just a few of the highlights, you'll be very excited to know it was a board priority, and it certainly is one that we all embrace. There's going to be a lot more programming and enrichment around music, arts, and public speaking, debate clubs, chess clubs, world languages, all of that now. It's going to be STEAM programs, well integrated into our curriculum. Of course, we've always, not always, the last 5 years had a really great culture and enrichment curriculum for our students. Probably best in class in that area. And then you'll see a lot of support on speaking, instruction, a lot of great initiatives and spending to support all of our students. And also, lead students are accelerating and grow fast, as well as more support. And then colleagues, there's always room for improvement, always room for improvement. So some of these OFIs that I want to point out to you, OFI stands for Opportunities for Improvement, is that we are going to have, after this first marking period, a very robust discussion about grading, equity in grading practice. I've studied this work for a long time, colleagues, and even the very best teachers could benefit from a discussion about grading practice of our children. We want to get away from zeros, colleagues. Zeros are killers. And once kids get zeros, they can do 80, 85, 90, 90, and that zero will still bring them down to close to 65, 68. And that zero thing has been going on for years. I've studied this. And I said, look, that's got to change. We've got a big group that's going to meet with teachers and administrators under the leadership of Ann Botticelli, our chief academic officer. So excited about that. Stay tuned for that. Assignments. Now, colleagues, this goes back to parents and the home curriculum. We certainly are enriching our assignments in school, but we also have to get more uniform across the district assignments at home. What traditionally has been called homework. If you have great in-school assignment work, rigorous, moderately difficult, relevant, apply in school and at home, and you complete those assignments at a high level, that becomes great alignment. But we also have to get more uniform across the district assignments at home. If you have great in-school assignment rigorous, moderately difficult, relevant, in school and you complete those assignments at a high level, that's great. feedback and believe that it is dangerous. We know that it is claimed well over 5 million lives worldwide, well over 750,000 lives in this country. And just this past week, claimed another 8,000. We have had an average of 50 cases per day in our school system, approximately 36 students and 17 adults each day, average. We have hospitalization rates up 65% in Greeley County. We have high infection zip codes in 14220, 14206, and many others are high. Those are just high. College is not able to bring it down this way. It's up at nearly 12%. That is deep red zone territory. Deep red. And I don't see it fading if we don't all take the measures that are needed in order to bring it down. Okay? I just want to be clear. And so, I was very concerned when we were not able to test because of an abrupt halt to our testing program. Learned about it Monday morning. So I put out the word, and we said, we got to get this solved. I talked with the Greeley County Department of Health and our medical advisory team, who were also called off guard on this. And we said, we got to get a replacement in here quickly. Now, since that time, we've had at least 3 dozen providers from all over the country calling in and saying, we can do this, we can provide testing all over the country. But every time we notice providers, we know certainly the local providers recommended replacement after conversation with the public I'm pleased to say that Buffalo Home Care will be the new provider. And 2 points to make why I'm excited about this is that they are full service providers. They've been serving the suburban schools already. They serve the suburban schools now. We called them up, had a long, robust conversation over 2-3 days, and they told us all that they could do. We checked whether they could, and whether they had the capacity to serve the second largest school system in the state of New York. And we've been assured that they can. So they're excited. We're excited that they said they can begin to reboot as early as next week, midweek. Now, that doesn't mean we get it all like we had it across 60 schools next week, but it will start next week. And by the first of the new year, we believe we will have it back full bore, 30 to 40% testing at least with the PCR test, not the rapid test, the PCR test, by the first of the year. So this is encouraging news for us, because we know that PCR, while a little bit longer to get the results, is more reliable in the results that it does give. Okay? So that's what's important to know about our new test provider. The other thing that we liked about it is the other provider, we had an intensive amount of work that the staff was required to do, that principals were required to do, in contact tracing, in paperwork, consent forms and all of that. It was taking a lot of our administrators' time. This company takes all of that away and then provides some additional help for the contact tracing. And our administrators can go back to doing what they need to do and what they do best. So I'm very pleased about that part of this new arrangement as well. Colleagues, with the Omicron variant coming, already in the United States, already in New York City, likely, and will soon be here, you can anticipate, and yet we don't know all we need to know about what the impact of that new variant will be. Scientists are studying it now, and by the December holiday break, you can bet we'll know a lot more. And that will determine which way and how much and to what we may need to pivot yet again in our testing program. The other thing I want to say here is that while we were vaccinating people in collaboration with the Erie County Department of Health in some of our schools and what the county calls pop-up clinics, we weren't getting penetration into our Black and brown and our new American populations, not nearly to the degree that is needed among our majority student population. There's some hesitation, we all know, about taking the vaccine, and what we've said is if we can get help with getting more vaccines dedicated to us, we will make sure through our relationships with our students and our families that we can get better percentages of students and their families vaccinated. Because the more vaccinated people we have, we believe, because it's a big part of our strategy, masking, testing, vaccinating, MTV, you can remember it like that, the safer our children will be. But now, because we have a 5 to 11 and a 12 to 18-year-old vaccine, we want to make sure that those children get protected. There's too many children being exposed and testing positive to this COVID-19, and especially now the Delta variant. So I shook some trees and I made some calls and I put some things out, and we want to really, really give our deepest appreciation to the governor, Governor Kathy Hochul, who responded so quickly to the request. And she and her team called me late Tuesday night, and by Wednesday morning, we were already working on logistics to get 10,000 vaccines that are now coming to the Buffalo Public Schools so that we can vaccinate our students and families inside our community schools, up to 30 schools. East is a community school, so vaccines will be happening here. And we'll schedule this during the school day, a block of time, all across these 30 schools, after school, and on Saturdays, during the Saturday Academy blocks. It's a big deal, colleagues, 10,000 vaccines. And when we do that effectively, this first sequence, they said they'd then send 10,000 more, 10,000 more, and so forth. So we're partnering very closely with Erie County Department of Health, our medical advisory team, and community health care providers. We have several partners that are helping us get deep into the community and bring them to us so they can be vaccinated. And we'll go from there. This is exciting news in my mind, colleagues. And so we prepared a press release. We've sent out the essence of the details around these two issues, vaccinations and our new testing service provider, to the media, and they can help get the word out about our plans around this issue. Now, colleagues, sometimes it's asked, well, what about the staff? Because one of the things we maintain is that if the in-school staff is vaccinated, then our students will be protected and have an extra layer of protection that way. We really think that's important. And so we've done that. But I wanted to know exactly how many of our in-school staff have been vaccinated. And how do we know? Because anybody can say yes, no to a little yes-no survey. But we verify, colleagues, by a vaccine card record. Just like you have, just like I have. I've been vaccinated, plus my booster, plus my flu, plus my shingles, plus my pneumonia, plus everything. And I'll leave it like that. But I've been vaccinated. So what we wanted to know is how many of the adults who are frontline workers, no different than nurses and healthcare workers in hospitals, who absolutely, in my mind, should be vaccinated. If you're going to look after me when I'm in there for surgery or if I'm ill. So teachers are the same. Everybody wants the schools to stay open, to be open during this unprecedented global pandemic. Well, we need to be safe. We need to keep our staff and our students safe. This is the number and percentage of staff in schools who've been vaccinated. I think that's impressive. Is that a clap, Ebony? Are you clapping? Thank you, Ebony. Thanks for leading that. I think that's a big deal, colleagues. So there's the record for Buffalo Public Schools in school staff vaccination. Take a picture of it, put it out on your social media. That's a big deal. And that includes teachers, administrators, APs, teacher aides and assistants, everybody that works in schools. Larry, is that a big deal? Okay. Lou, is that a big deal? Terrence? Okay. Board member said that's a big deal. All right, I agree, and I'm glad that they see that. Now, colleagues, another issue that has been something that you've been concerned about, and certainly we have too, simply want to say that we used to have 667 bus routes for the Buffalo Public Schools. And so each day, 667 buses were headed out in the morning and headed back in the afternoon. That's a lot of buses. That's a big school system. And we pride ourselves with an excellent team in transportation who deliver children to school safely and deliver them home each evening safely. Needless to say, we did have a national bus driver shortage that was affecting all school districts in the country, and it certainly was affecting us. But we didn't whine and cry about it. We said, what are we going to do about it? And one of the things we did about it was we consolidated routes, we reduced routes, and we still were able to get children picked up once it got smooth, because we had bumps in the first couple of weeks. But as of right now, today, it's running pretty smoothly. And students are getting home, the majority at 5:30, and then there's 200 or so, because we go up to all points of the county to get all of our students home, that we are running about between 6:30 and 7:10 each night, getting final kid home. That's right now, and that's been holding for a couple of weeks. Now, what we're concerned about, of course, as the weather gets colder, days are shorter, dark comes sooner. How can we even improve on that? So the three recommendations, after I established a transportation advisory committee, they went to work and they said, after a lot of conversation, that here are three main things or strategies that we'll recommend that will help continue to mitigate this transportation bus driver challenge. The first one was to try to look, and we've been doing this since the start of the year, other qualified vendors and providers to help us. But we didn't have it, nobody has it, everybody has the same problem, we can't do it, we're working with one right now that we think can at least help us with our athletic program. They can step in and help us with the athletic program. They don't have enough capacity to do the other, because they run coaches, they run smaller vans. But that will still then free up buses that we normally use that way. And it'll be about 8 to 12 buses a day. And that's significant, Cheryl Kennedy, our Executive Director of Transportation, has indicated. 8 to 12 buses freed up to now get kids home and get kids to school sooner, we think is a big deal. The next one, of course, is to just keep onboarding, but we're not that far ahead. Well, we're about 12 ahead now, but then we do lose drivers. Even when they're fully trained, ready to go, we still lose some for a host of reasons. And we just have to keep that stream going to onboard new drivers. What I'm encouraged about is I run into them every now and then, and I see them and I talk to them, and they're just youngsters a lot of times. I ran into a young fellow the other day, he just looking at his bus, making sure all the kids were off. And I said, sir, how do you like your bus driver experience? He said, I love it. I love it, Dr. Cash. I said, what do you love about it? I love the kids, I love the responsibility that I have for making sure that they're safe, getting them home every day. I just take it so seriously. So I like that kind of enthusiasm, and I'm hoping we can keep that going. But the real difference maker, colleagues, is number three. Number three, which the team is working on now, is that coming off of the December break, as soon as January 3rd, we're going to be adjusting the schedule for every school, every, 37 days, Sandy, something like that, every 37 days, about 5 to 6 weeks, one school will let out a little earlier or start a little later, a little adjustment like that. One time every 6 weeks. And just that little adjustment, low impact to one school, times 32, 33, K-8 schools will free up a lot of buses, probably 50 or so, which will take us back pretty much to square. And that's a good thing. That's a good plan, as I understand it. Is that about right, Sandy? Okay. So colleagues, transportation, we're on it. We're continuing to try to solve it. And parents, what you just be there when it comes. We may be a little late, maybe a little early even, but be there. Because what holds the whole chain up is if we stop at the stop. Some of you have made a plan with transportation. I'm going to pick my kid up at the stop. And if you're not there, then we either wait or we carry the student on to be safe and to depot. We go depot and then we wait till you come to depot. So that's the plan, colleagues. That's transportation in a nutshell. And certainly when we go to conversation, if you have any further questions, I'm happy to talk to you about it. All right, we only have a few more here. The bottom line here, colleagues, is 2 big tranches of money came in from the federal government down to the states and down to the schools under the Biden administration. And $89 million came to Buffalo Public Schools in one bucket, and $201 million came in another larger bucket. Bottom line is, we've divided the spending in the way we're supposed to spend it into, there's 21 categories that we have to spend this money in, but there's 4 main categories. And so that 289 combined $1 million is investments, strategic investments in information technology, strategic investments in student support, social, psycho, emotional, and trauma, and all of those things that we're seeing in our young people today. And then the COVID operational issues, facility issues like proper ventilation in an auditorium like this, proper cleaning every night in all of our schools in preparation for the next morning, PPE equipment, masks and shields, booties, gowns, gloves, whatever staff say they want and need, we've given it to them through our PPE supply. And then the orange is the education bargain. The orange is the big pot that goes to kids. It goes to supporting all of those things that we say in the bargain we're supporting, and the enrichment, the arts, the academic enterprise, teaching and learning, all of that is in the orange allocation. So you'll see systemic, all school supports and expenditures there, and then you see where schools get their own allocations for the particular program they need in order to grow their children. So that's good, a good breakdown of that. And of course, if you have any questions about that, we'll be happy to talk about it. And then the device issue, the whole computer device. Some say, well, we don't have a computer, every kid doesn't have a computer. Almost every kid has a computer. Almost every kid has a computer right now. And that 28,802 out of 30,552, that's kids that have computers. That's pretty good. And we're only down to 912 students from an initial 8,000 who had not returned computers from the summer. And now we're down to 912, and those we think we've hit a plateau. We're not going to get any further into that number. So I've authorized just to go ahead and give those students new computers. And we have enough new computers out of the ones we ordered. Worldwide now, distribution from China to other countries, and we had a block in that distribution chain for a minute. It got unblocked, and 903 laptops and iPads we ordered, 13,903 have arrived. So we got them all in, and that's a big deal, I think. Thank you. All right, so that's the deal with devices. We're getting prepared to pivot if we have to. If we gotta go home, we're gonna be prepared to go home. We don't wanna go home. We want our kids in school. They need to be in school, but it depends on the safety and the issues that emerge in the weeks ahead. The weeks ahead are gonna be very, very pivotal, we think, for all of us. For all of us. And so that will determine. But if we do have to go back to remote, what I'm saying to you tonight is we will be prepared to do that part. And we've learned a few things so that we think it'll be even better than before, but we hope we don't have to. Letting you know, though, that it's on the docket if we have to. All right. Finally, how do we take students from being at risk, because some of our students are, to being at promise, which is our goal all the time for all children. And this is how we do it. We have a very strong, practiced theory of action, colleagues, that we're working on in the Buffalo Public Schools. The board has heard this presentation. They support our theory of action and our work. But when you take up new funds, when you take the years of experience that all of us at the executive cabinet level have combined, this is what we've come up with. This is what we do every day. If we provide greater access, equity, opportunity, and quality for all students, and we accelerate the academic performance of all students, and we establish a holistic accountability system that evaluates the academic, the operational, and the fiscal performance of the school district. and we create a school community that listens to student input and promotes student leadership and healthy youth development. We've got some good initiatives doing that, but we can do even more. And we maintain a positive, safe, and respectful environment for all of our staff and students. And we create a school community that is sensitive and responsive to the needs of an increasingly diverse population. That's Buffalo Schools, if there ever was a district. And if we build and strengthen our family and community partnerships to support the academic and character development of all our students in concert with our families and our parents, then we have built the foundation for a world-class education system and the opportunity for all students to succeed in school, in college, and in the world of work. And everything we do, colleagues, is designed to get better at doing that. So, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for being here. We will now take a moment for me to have a little sip of this water, and then we will invite you to talk with me, talk with us, and continue the conversation. Simply ask that you be respectful, that's all. We welcome any topic on anything, and we'll go from there. If you have a question, let's ask it. When it feels like that has slowed down, then we will conclude the program. Ramona, if you will help me identify the people and what they want to talk about, then that's fine.
Can I get started?
And colleagues, let me just say, I prefer on-topic conversations, but as I said, it's a conversation with you, so you can ask questions that you may have. If you could just tell me your name and where you're from, that would be helpful, and I can try to remember that and respond to you accordingly. So ma'am, you're first.
Thank you. I wrote down what I wanted to say so I didn't forget. My name is Maureen McNamara-Uteg, and I am one of your school counselors in this district. Thank you so much for holding this town meeting. I have been waiting for this opportunity, so I really thank you. I think this is great, and I really hope that we see more of this in the Buffalo Public Schools. But I'm also hoping for a little more. I'm hoping that you and your board members could, and other members of the community can become more of a familiar face in our school buildings. I'm urging you, as a matter of fact.
If you could say just a little louder, because I'm not hearing you completely, and I think you're talking about school buildings, so talk to me a little louder.
I would like to see you, as well as the board members and other members of our district, to come to our buildings more often to see what's really, truly going on in our buildings. Mm-hmm. I'm urging you, as a matter of fact, in particular in my actual position, to spend some time with me. I've actually spoken to board meeting 2 years ago. I've offered any single one of you to come in and follow me a week, and not just me, any school counselor in the district. Come and see what we do each and every day, because I truly do believe if you walked a day in my shoes or any other school counselor's shoes, you would see the incredible needs that we have for more school counselors in the building. According to the National School Counselor Association, the recommended school counselor to student ratio is 1 to 250. In 2019, across all the schools in the United States, the average was 1 school counselor to 464 students. As of today, I have 829 students, and I'm the only school counselor. I have double the national average of students. I'm fortunate enough to be full-time, and I love my school, I love my job. But many of my school counselor colleagues are part-time, split between 2 buildings. It is impossible to expect a part-time school counselor or even a full-time school counselor to deliver proper services to over 800 students. So I know that I've heard you before, and I've heard the board members before say, well, we have Say Yes in all of our buildings. We have mental health counselors in all of our buildings, and that's true, we do. I'm just not sure if you're all aware, though, that the Say Yes Workers caseload is about 30 students. Those 30 students aren't even in our building. My Say Yes Worker, who's great, only 3 of her students in our building are on her caseload.
Okay, we need to wrap it up.
Okay,
So
so basically what I'm wanting to know is, I love this speech, but I want to know, Superintendent Cash, what your plans are to address the social emotional needs of our students when we do not have the recommended school counselor to student ratio in every building. I love seeing this, but I want to know how it's going to look in action.
excellent, I appreciate that, it's a good question. So colleagues, as you know, staffing is key. Great staffing is really the key. So it's not so much how many people you have, it's how many great people you have. Now, I know that that ratio is off, but we have a process where you can bring it through. Let me know, and I address it, right? Schools have to tell their principals, the principals come to the ASLs come to me. And if we've got a big imbalance that needs to be addressed, we address it, especially now. We had one with social workers, and we hired more social workers. That's one of the things we're doing to address the significant social, emotional, psychological, emotional needs of our children. We have Say Yes Buffalo helping with additional resources and expenditures into this area. There's a lot of different things that we're doing to do it. School counselors are an important part of it. School psychologists are an important part of it. Let us know what the off is, so we can see if we can bring greater balance. I'm interested in looking at that and taking a look at it. So thank you for reiterating that important issue. That's a very important role in our school system, always will be. And I want to make sure you can get to every child and spend the time you need on their personal as well as their academic needs. Yeah. So that's what we got to hear more about. Next question, please.
Dr. Cash, the next question is from Mr. Reed regarding lead and water.
Mr. who?
Mr. Reed.
Reed? Okay. Say a little bit about yourself, sir, and I appreciate it.
I'm a former chief engineer in the schools.
At 187?
Yes, I was at 187. You almost came by and visited me.
I think I remember you.
I'm sure everybody remembers. Our first question I would like to ask the President here. Is that possible? Can I ask the President a question?
Yeah, so you can say it nice and loud so we can all hear you.
All right. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Could you tell me how to pronounce it? Mr. Petrucci. Have you talked to any of the engineers in public schools? Okay, can you tell me about how they tested the water? Was there any flushing done? Pre-stagnation flushing?
Sir, I don't really want to put the board members under any kind of inquisition here. Just ask your question, make your point, and then we'll respond to you.
And then I'll move on. You do not know about pre-stagnation flushing, am I correct? You do not know about pre-stagnation flushing.
Colleagues, ask your question, sir.
That wasn't my question, that was my first question. My second question is to you. Have you, or will you, make any engineers, any of the school engineers, chief engineers, will you make them available for questioning?
Not tonight. Tonight is you ask me the question. You ask me the question, and we'll respond to you, or we will follow up with a response. What's your question, sir?
My question is,
Or what's your comment or your concern? Either one.
my concern is, if there has been pre-stagnation flushing of the water system before these samples were taken for lead testing, then those samples were taken incorrectly, and our children are drinking water with high levels of lead. That's my question.
Okay. I got it.
The
I
last
appreciate
thing I would
it.
like to say,
I appreciate
I would
it.
like to thank everybody for letting me speak.
Okay.
Because I know I'm making people very uncomfortable.
No, we're fine. We're
Have
fine.
you been contacted by Mr. Tisha James? It was a complaint filed by my organization.
Right. I'm very confident in our lead person responsible for this work, Ms. Yvette Gordon, and she has handled this work extremely well over the years. And the last report that I had about lead in our water was that we were at 0.15, 0.13 points per billion, which is the equivalent of a few eye drops in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, okay? A few eye drops in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. That's what my understanding is. Thank you for bringing that concern to our attention. All right, next person, please. Name and concern.
Mrs. Miller has a statement.
And that's, like I said, colleague, 3 or 4 minutes, you know, get your point across like we were at a board meeting. All right.
So my name is Lisa Miller.
Lisa.
And I'm a parent. And I would like to see here, if everyone could just raise their hand, how many people here are parents? Parents with students. So are there ever any meetings for us parents to get to voice how we feel, where you guys listen, so we don't just have to listen to what you want to present? Because you don't care about our kids' safety, because clearly you don't care about the lead in the water and the dangerous levels that this man is bringing up. And clearly she's asking for more counselors, so she doesn't have to do the workload of 4 people. If they didn't force vaccinations to the workforce, we wouldn't be short bus drivers, we wouldn't be short staff, and we wouldn't be short on anything. Our country has a shortage of 80,000 truck drivers right now who won't get the vaccine. That's why we have supply chain issues. We have a lot of issues that are facing our great country that are more worrisome than COVID. I don't know how many people here believe in freedom of choice, mask choice, vaccine choice. If you have 96% vaccinated, why can't you leave the last 4% alone? Everybody does not have to be vaccinated, and the mRNA technology that's in the vaccines, this is the first vaccine with that technology in it. Even though they discovered that in the 60s, COVID-19 vaccine is the first vaccine to have mRNA technology, which will change your blood forever. I have a website, it's called Let's Improve New York, where I put reputable articles and all kinds of ideas to try to improve New York State. You don't even live in New York State. Could you please tell me your neighborhood? No, can you please?
New York
You
State.
know you live in Martha's Vineyard.
I don't live in New York State. I live here.
This is the second meeting since August 18th that you have been at, and this is my 6th.
All right, Lisa. Lisa.
You do not let us talk.
Lisa.
You want us to shut
Make
up
your
the whole
point.
time. Your numbers
Ask
are
a question.
wrong. All of your
You get
numbers
3
are
minutes.
wrong.
That's it.
It hasn't been
That's
3
it.
months.
That's it. We appreciate your comments. Next, please. Next, please. I listen to you. No, we're going to have the next speaker. Next speaker. Thank you. We appreciate it. Your name, ma'am.
The next question is from Ms. Pinto. She has a question regarding vaccines.
Who?
Mrs. Pinto.
Miss Pinto. Okay, I see.
It's only my concern. It's only my concern. I work at McKinley High School. It's one of the high schools that is very bad with the COVID-19. And I would like to know why the kids, because it's some parents that don't want the kids to have the vaccine.
Yeah.
Why this 10% of the kids they don't have the vaccine? Why they don't stay home? And the one that got the vaccine just to go to school? Because the people that doesn't have the vaccine, that's the one that giving us sick. Because I got sick for the COVID-19, and my son got sick for that. Because some parents doesn't believe in the vaccine. You understand my question? That
No one in poverty, what?
why the student that doesn't want to have the vaccine stay home? So like I wouldn't get sick. More the teachers say, or more the staff that will work with kids, they don't want to wear masks. Because in McKinley High School, we got a lot of problems with the mask. They don't want to wear it. Even some of the teachers, they don't want to wear the mask.
But it's a requirement.
No, it's not a choice. I got sick because some people like you guys, they don't even understand the vaccine.
Oh.
That's why I got sick.
Oh.
And that's the point.
That's interesting. Okay.
So, that's just a question.
Yeah.
Why half of the kids, they don't want to put the vaccine? Stay home. They can stay home. Yes, we deserve to be.
Okay. I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. All right, Ramona. Who's next?
The next question, Mr. Roeder, regarding testing.
Mr. Bob, okay. Nice and loud, sir. You can pull it off the, there you go.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So, good evening, Dr. Cash, and
Good
thank
evening.
you for having this tonight. Thanks for everyone who's involved. Just a couple things. One, I was really happy to see this.
Nice and loud.
Okay. I was really happy to see the staff vaccination. That's something I've been wanting to see, the staff vaccination rates.
Oh.
But just, I just want some clarity, and this might be a semantic issue. You have, I think you said like 3,985 responses. I don't know how many teachers and staff work for BPS. Was that 100% response rate? Was that voluntary? And if it was voluntary, how many did respond?
So,
my concern is
we have about 7,500, 400 total staff, including part-time. But school-based staff is about 3,100 teachers, plus about 280 administrators, and other roles within the school. So you add that together, you're at 3,400. So this is, and then we got about 1,000 teacher aides and assistants. So that puts us at 35, 36. And so what they did is they disaggregated this from some of the downtown-based staff who also participated in this. But this is mainly the school-based staff that responded to this.
So just so we're clear then, is it close to 100% response rate then from those who are in the schools, those who are with our children?
Who's here from H? I don't think so. I think we're getting close to 100% response rate for in-school staff.
Okay.
Close to it.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Make sure
Good question.
Because my concern is to make sure those who are around our children.
Yeah.
The second question I have, if we do pivot, and God forbid, we don't have to pivot our way of learning, we need to do that based on relevant data. We can't just do that because we're scared. I know we do contact tracing in school cases. I've heard another superintendent from a different school system say that their contact tracing, they haven't seen a single case that was spread in their tracing. Do we have data, or do we see the data where we are with contact tracing, how much spread, if any, there is in our schools?
Well, you know, the Erie County Department of Health has that data. I don't have it at the tip of my fingers, but what I have maintained all along, that if you have a high infection rate in the community, and people who live in the community come to work in the school, that you've always had the possibility of the virus being spread in schools. This notion that it can't spread in schools is absurd.
There's that possibility, right? We can't say for sure, but
it's higher now.
right. But what is the spread in schools? And that is, we know that by
If we are safe, if we're safe, and because we have a high rate, that's a good thing. See that? And because in Buffalo Public Schools, we've always been ahead of the curve in the strategies that we use, a multi-layered strategy to keep kids and staff safe. We have historically, since the start of COVID, been safer than if they were in just the community. Because most of these cases that I'm seeing are community cases.
And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make
Yeah.
schools, and I think if we had the data on our contact tracing, we'd see that they are safer than community.
They're safer, but it's getting to be more and more problematic. As this slide shows, you can see that 10-year-olds, 11 to 13-year-olds is starting to get a much higher percentage now. When this COVID started, it was people that were old like me and people with a lot of underlying conditions. They were most at risk. Now this has shifted almost to more and more children at younger and younger ages being more and more at risk. And once we found that out, and once the board saw that, they said, we got to do something. We got to do more.
What are those statistics? Are those statistics
From Erie County Department of Health, for Buffalo, and Erie County. That's Erie County data. And the 65%, Tanja, increase in hospitalizations, it's 65% increase in hospitalization just since November 15th. Just since November 15th. So I read that clip that comes out every day by the Erie County Department of Health. The executive, the county executive has said we're going to mandate for everybody in public places. The only reason I don't have my mask on is the distance I am and what I feel is the proper distance while I'm speaking.
Okay, I won't stay up here forever.
And I should have it on, Frank.
The point I was trying to get across is we got to make decisions based on relevant data, and if we can
Absolutely.
if we can have some transparency with that data with the community.
It's the data from the county. It's the data from the county. But we agree with you. All right, thank you for that comment, sir. We appreciate you. Okay. Got to put it right up here like I'm doing. No. Might be off. Ramona or somebody, could you help the gentleman, please?
I don't need it.
Yeah.
So, once again, my apologies, prior engagement, change the pace up a little bit. I just want to ask you a question about after schools. I mean, you just admitted that it's an increase in COVID cases with 10-year-olds, 11 and 12-year-olds. So I'm wondering about after school programming starting for those grades, middle school and childhood, because right now maybe that could be something that could inhibit the spread, because when these students leave school, we don't know where they're going. So maybe if we can keep them in a safer place like school, we can lessen the spread. So I'm wondering, has there been discussions about after school starting up, and where are we on that?
Yeah, great question. Appreciate it. The theory is interesting, though. If we keep them in schools, they'll be safer. I'm sure I'm going to say more about that. In other words, in the after-school program, they'll be safer.
I don't want to get caught up on that. You just said that there's less spread.
Well, wait a minute. I know you, man. I know you. So we just going to converse.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
So you said it's less spread in schools, right?
No, I think the gentleman made that point. I think it's less spread in the schools than in the community right now.
Right.
Yes.
So if it's less spread in schools than in the community, without after school, would you say that more students are in the community? We don't know where they go after school if there's no after school program, correct?
I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I'm assuming they go home. I don't know. What I'm trying to do is get after school programs started as soon as possible. Historically, they start around the end of September, the beginning of October.
Right.
At the very latest, the end of October.
Right.
This year, because of the transportation and the need for all of those buses, we have been assured that we're not able to start after-school programs for the pre-K through 8 schools. We've begun, I believe, and for the high schools. And Ann and her team have been under discussion about what the after-school programs would look like once we do start. And at this point, to be perfectly honest, we're hoping that we can start sometime in the spring.
Okay, so.
March, what was it? March, April, May? What was it that you came up with? You don't know? Okay. But as soon as this bus thing, what's that? Yeah. What did you find out, Ann? Ann, please don't speak over. Please don't speak over if I'm talking to my staff or to anybody. That's the one thing that is basic. It's basic. Be respectful. Okay, Ann, what is it that I can't? Correct. Okay, later in the winter, earlier in the spring, but we want to do it as soon as we possibly can. And if this adjustment that I identified up here earlier with transportation yields what I'm told it could yield, this one right here, then we could be doing it sooner. That's what my assumption is. But believe me, I agree that if they're engaged from early in the morning to into the evening, while parents get their schedules, come home from work, and all the different things that they have to do, that's a big help to families, and it's a big help for our kids to catch up on their academic part, because there's an academic hour in the after school, there's a social emotional wellness part of after school, and then there's a physical activity part to the after-school program. So that's the benefit of after-school program. And if I could, I'd start it back when it could. So believe me, I don't want it to not go. I want it to go. And as soon as I get the green light, it's gonna go.
And I believe that everybody in this room who represents BPS wants it to go.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm requesting that you share the information that you have talked about in planning for it to go.
Oh, I see. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
What plans have taken place to examine the feasibility of starting after school?
Okay, remember now, we started it in the high school. So now we're trying to get it into the lower grades.
But the high school issue is not as specific, no, excuse me. The high school issue is not relying on transportation, correct?
No.
Right. So.
Not the yellow bus transportation.
Right. No. So if the issue is transportation, what discussions have been had with transportation about how we can start after school? And who's been involved in those discussions?
Yeah, okay, that's a fair enough question. That's a fair enough question. So we've been providing updates on this each month at the board meeting. We have staff involved in this every day. We have Cheryl Kennedy come to speak to the board and go through the plans to try to improve the transportation challenge. And then we've had a transportation advisory committee.
No disrespect, no disrespect. I was at the last board meeting. I heard the discussion on transportation. It sounded like things are improving quite significantly. I think the statement was made that less than 50 students are waiting late on a bus. So that sounds good, but what I didn't hear is the specific planning going into transportation and after school. So the question—
They're tied. They're tied.
They're tied, but I didn't hear any of that language. I didn't hear any of that language.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your comment.
The last thing I'll say is you have a number of people who are willing to support you in groupthink to solve this problem. Take some of these players off the bench and put them in the game.
All right. I'd like to know what that is. And let's see, who can reach out to this gentleman and talk to him? You will? Okay, thank you, Ann. You can meet with Ann Botticelli. She'd like to hear your thoughts, okay? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Cash, the next question is from Mr. Quell regarding COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. I appreciate the time to get to speak. Dr. Cash, The PCR tests are inaccurate and were never meant to detect the presence of the virus, but the supposed COVID vaccines are truly dangerous. Very recently, Pfizer and the FDA were forced by the courts to finally publish some of the COVID-19 vaccine safety data. The data indicates that in just the first 2 months of the Pfizer shot being available, January, February of 2021, there were 158,893 confirmed adverse events due to just the Pfizer vaccine. These include 18,000 cases of anaphylaxis, 274 cases involving pregnancy, 1,400 cases involving cardiovascular, 449 cases of facial paralysis, 3,600 cases related to arthritis, 69 cases of kidney injury, and 1,223 fatalities. That's fatalities. One vaccine, 2 months. These are the adverse events that were reported and made it into the official report in just the first 2 months of one vaccine being available. I implore you to reconsider pushing these dangerous shots on our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comment. All right, if we're winding down, then that's fine. You have what?
Hi, Dr. Cash. My name is Lane Dowdle. I'm a reporter with Investigative Post in Buffalo.
I can't hear you.
My name is Lane Dowdle, and I'm a reporter with Investigative Post in Buffalo.
I'm sorry.
I have a couple of questions for you. Can you quantify in some way the number of students who started this school year with incomplete coursework or needing to repeat a course or needing to repeat a grade altogether? And where does that number stand now? And what specific steps is the district taking to get those students caught up besides the community schools?
Okay, and I think she asked about repeating.
Yeah, I can repeat my first question.
Yeah, I know, but I don't really hear it. So if you've heard it, then you can come up and help if you understand it. What are we doing to help?
I would like to know the number of students, whatever number you can give me, whether that's a percentage, an estimate, guess, but I would like to know the number of students who started this school year with incomplete coursework following the summer programming, or needing to repeat a course, or needing to repeat a grade altogether, and I would also like to know how that number has changed since.
Yeah, we don't have that tonight.
Can I get
Did you
those
make
numbers?
a request for that?
I did, yes, actually.
I don't recall hearing about it.
A FOIL request, actually.
Huh?
I submitted a FOIL request a few months ago.
Well,
yes.
did you get it?
I don't need to tell you that. But how can I get those numbers?
Did you get the data that you were requesting from the suburb?
No, not from the district. I did not get numbers from the district for my FOIL request, so I'd like those numbers, and whether that's with a follow-up email or how can I get those?
Did you ask a question, Larry? Didn't you ask her a question?
What was the question?
And what did she say?
If I asked other districts.
Ah, okay. I thought so. Okay, we'll try to get that information for you, and we appreciate your question.
I would just like clarification on how I will get.
We appreciate your question, okay? I'll follow the chain and find out where your request is.
Okay,
thank you.
The next question, Dr. Cash, is from Mr. Hylam regarding English language learners.
Okay.
My name is Megustav Miriam. I'm from Eritrea by Ethiopia, that I hope God will bless the countries that is a war around them. My question is, I'm an immigrant in Buffalo, that my kids goes to school. I do read English, so I'm okay. I can read reports. But my first question, it's not like a question, but I'm going to also help. I have solution for that too. So if you want to contact me, I will leave my contact. You read a very good mission statement. I'm impressed. But we have low rate students to go to college, high rate drop out, and the low rate graduation that we read them everywhere. If I misunderstand, I need understanding for that. From my own community, most students are not going to college, so I'm aware of. So I want to know how to close the gap. If we have a good mission statement and students are dropping out, I want to find out if parents are not encouraging so we can help the administration. That's my part one. My second part is, if you are aware, immigrant parents are not reading or misunderstanding the student's report card that comes every 3 months. Well, teachers will understand that mainly. Most parents are not reading that. And then they're not going to be aware about their child. Well, then they're not going to help the teacher. So I'm aware of if the teachers are hard working, doing the best they can, and you're not sleeping to help them, well, if parents are not participating, I just want to know how to close that gap too, so parents can participate. The third part that I have is, if you are aware, there are interpreters that Buffalo Public School hire them through Language Solution or Language Line, but I have evidence. I was listening to them when they interpret. Chaos. I have no idea who even hired them. They came up as interpreters, but they tell the parent what to do. And I'm aware of, if you have understanding, if the interpretation is working good, that parents are also listening. Well, a piece of information that I have is, one day you were in a press conference, you were speaking, accidentally I was listening to you, and then I asked my 120 Viper followers, which is our people, 0 except me, which is 119. They were not listening to you at the time because they were not on the web. But luckily, because I heard you, I posted it by my language. So 120 people heard you by my language. So I am trying to understand if you could bring community leaders, influencers, onto your meetings, onto your whatever web, so we can take your information, your mission statement, so we can bring to the community on their own convenience, like WhatsApp, Viber, IMO, Facebook, church, mosque, and even birthday party. It's a kind of information, it's not like a question. If you want us to help, we can also do that. But the other three parts are, I need some understanding about the name, even in follow-up, I can leave my email.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir, for your questions and your comments. I'm gonna have to ask staff to help me, and whoever can, help me by breaking down I believe you had 3 or 4 questions or comments. So, Ramona, did you hear all of them? Sandy, did you hear all of them? And if so, please help me right now, okay? If you could go to the mic.
By the way, I want to appreciate you for on the pandemic. I was following you. You did your best. There is not always some magic change that we can do, but even though a lot of people, they want to change on the tip, but if we don't work together, it's a little bit hard to change. About 35,000 students administration. So I appreciate what you do. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And I want to, I appreciate him because he is always such a supportive parent, really embracing the notion that we have to all work together collaboratively to support our kids. And Ann is addressing his major question having to do with closing the gap of our English language learners. So
Absolutely.
I think Mrs. Botticelli addressing that.
Okay, is that the main, was that the main thrust or
That
what?
was the main thrust from what I heard.
Okay.
So there are 2 remaining questions. Ms. Griffin, you can come up now. She has a question regarding school counselors, and then we'll finish with Ms. Meathers.
Okay, thank you, great.
Hello, how's everyone doing today?
Good, thank you.
So I have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
One of the questions is regards the guidance counselor. How often guidance counselors meet with students in high school? That's my one question.
Ms. Wallace, I'm going to ask you to answer that, so if you can make a note, because you would know better than I do. And I'm sure it's variable, but you can give me on average. Okay, so go ahead. What's the next question?
The second question is, how are the students' courses decided after meeting with the guidance counselor?
You mean the parent and the student?
The parent to student.
Those are two good questions.
Usually the guidance counselor meets
Yeah.
with the student.
Yeah.
The third question is, and the reason is, when our students are going into college, they spend 2 to 3 semesters taking remedial courses before they get into their major. So they're spending their financial aid on courses that they could have taken in high school free of charge. So by the time they're in their junior year of college, they have ran out of financial aid. So
are you a parent, ma'am?
I
Of
am.
a kid, of a student? Did this happen to you? That's what I'm asking.
It happened to me years ago.
Yeah.
But we run a program at our church, and we try to help our students stay on task and try to develop communication between the parent and the teacher. So my major question is, tell me about the guidance counselor. How often are they meeting with the student? How often are they rearranging their courses to make it appropriate for college readiness?
Yeah.
That's what I need to know.
Great question. So either Tanja, certainly Ms. Wallace, if you like, Toya, I think, could have a good perspective on that. Tanja, you want to start? And if you could go to the mic. Dr. Tanja Williams, our Associate Superintendent for Student Support Services.
Nice to meet you. I am a licensed and trained counselor. I was a counselor for 12 years in Buffalo Public Schools. I've worked at some colleges, been a principal, and I can tell you we've got some counselors that are here today, and counselors are meeting with students every day. That's part of their job, to work with the students every day. They're working with them in different ways, psychosocial, emotional issues, and certainly doing academic counseling with students. It depends on the program, the school that they're at, what the curriculum is, when they sit with students and take a look at, what is necessary for graduation, where they are now, what they need to do. I can assure you that counselors are doing that. We have more AP classes now that we're offering so that we don't have students starting college in the remedial courses like you spoke about. Ms. Botticelli is really in charge of that piece, but I can assure you that our counselors are certainly working very hard with students every single day.
Yeah, I do. Okay, that's what I was going to. Let take the mic so we can hear her. Thank you,
In our
Tom.
program, we have students who are not college ready. And that's because they have to, when they're in college, as of this year, they are still taking remedial courses. We have been told that their counselors are not meeting with them to let them know what is available. We had a valedictorian student that graduated from Burger who's supposed to have everything financial because she was the top of her class. She had nothing, nothing. So now we're scraping, making sure she has scholarships, she has applied for them, writing an essay, and she's on top of all that because she had no guidance, none whatsoever.
Really?
So yes, really.
She said that?
Yes, and there's proof that she's valedictorian. And she did not have any scholarships, no financial guidance or anything. So again, my question is, how often are they meeting with the students? How often are they rearranging their courses? Even though you need 22 credits, 2 years of math, it would benefit them to take 4 years. So they don't have to take that additional math when they get in college and pay for it. So I just want to understand so we can better help our students at our program, because some parents have never been to college. So they're lost on how to help their child. So I just want to know what.
So I was one of those students. I was one of those first generation college students. I'd like to speak with you a little further about this student that you're speaking about, because we have Say Yes as partners to the Buffalo schools, and so it's interesting that we would have a student graduate and not have any information. We pay for all of our 10th and 11th graders to take the PSAT to help prepare them. We pay for all of our 12th graders to take the SAT with no financial burden to the parents. We take students to college fairs. So I really would like to speak with you about this student to find out what happened.
Ma'am, you're not at the mic. You haven't been called on, so we're not acknowledging you. Ramona, do you have another one? Because 2 more? All right, thank you.
The next statement question is Ms. Meadows regarding parenting, and then we will...
Regarding what?
Parenting.
Parent Center, okay.
No, parenting.
Hello, Carolina Meadows. I am the Secretary of Most Valuable Parents and an active community resident. I have a statement, a suggestion, and a question.
Right.
My statement is, you know, I deal with a lot of parents and I deal with a lot of young people, and I'm always hearing people complain as it relates to school as far as gang violence, kids not going to school, dropout rates, and of course, COVID-19 issues with the mandates. And I think that we need to keep in mind that there's a lot of positive things that the district does. There's a lot of young people that are graduating. There are a lot of young people that are doing amazing things in the Buffalo Public District. And I think we focus so much on the negative that all of the young people that are doing amazing things, all of the staff, the teachers that are doing amazing things, it's sort of disservice because it's like they're overlooked. They're not giving any attention to it because we're constantly focusing on all of the problems. So what I would like as a suggestion, I think we need to spend more time disseminating information on all of the positive things that is going on with the district, all of the services. I mean, I know 10 years ago, there was no Saturday school. There wasn't, you know, teachers taking the time to offer programs, I mean, y'all have, and I only know these things because I am a part of Most Valuable Parents. There's a wealth of information of services that are being done. And I think we need to spend more time focusing on that. I think the district needs to disseminate the information better. And I think young people need to be at the table. Whenever we're discussing young people, we need to have at least 25 young people. Parents here should be bringing their kids with them to these forums, and young people are the ones that should be getting up here speaking because we make all these decisions for them and they are not a part of the conversation, and that is a disservice to them. So that's my statement. My suggestion is do more things focusing on the positive and all of the services and all of the great teachers and staff that you have, as well as the students that are doing amazing things. My question would be, what is it, one, how do you disseminate information of the things that the district is doing besides these forums and sending information home? And my second question is, what is it that parents and community residents can do to be a support of the district and the staff so that we can all get through this pandemic together?
Wow. Can't add to that. Thank you, ma'am. And being a great representative from MVP, one of the things about that parent organization, very large parent organization, is they're always trying to be part of the solution. They talk about how can we help? How can we message to other parents the things that we're going through as parents so that we can have a program, and they do have a program called Parents Helping Parents. And I think that's a tremendous program. And so many other things. PARENTS is an acronym that MVP supports, and on, Mad Dads, and just a lot of great things. So that partnership, A plus B equal a greater C, and the C stands for children. So I really appreciate your comments. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have challenges or we can't handle the critics or the negative narrative. We can handle that. But I do think that it's more beneficial for children and for parents and for staff to know, be aware, and amplify the work that we're trying to do for children. Because that's all we're here for. That's all we're here for. That's our job. That's our life. And that's what we want to do. So I do appreciate that. Now, we could take your recommendations for how to better communicate to all of the constituents. I do like that we have this parent education liaison in every school now, and that person, kind of from the ground, and you know many of them, is designed to help reach out and communicate with and share all the good things that are going in that particular school, as well as in the district writ large. So we can just continue to use our resources, use our strategies, and I think this has to be a multiple, many strategy approach to keep continuation going. It should be communication, communication, communication. Never stop and never have too much of it. So thank you for those comments, and we're going to continue to improve. And Ramona, you work closely with the parent groups. Just keep adding to the continuum. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, let's have a great finale, and then this young man has to go get something to eat. One thing about this role is you don't eat. There's no time for breakfast because you're up early. You don't have time for lunch because you're in meetings and doing things. So what I do is I go home and eat 2 dinners. I eat 2 dinners every night. So you can see it as well. Let's finish.
The final question is from Mr. Dorsey regarding mental health.
Mental health, okay. Oh, is that Zaire?
Yes, it is. Good evening. How you doing?
Sir, you can take down your mask.
No, I wear 2.
Okay.
So I'll explain that.
I just want to make sure I can hear you. Okay.
You'll be able to hear me. So all through the COVID-19 pandemic, parents and family have been asked to be flexible with what's going on with the district and to be patient. Come to the school, pick up materials for your kids. Come to the school on our terms and stand outside and pick up more materials and then come back and get a computer. So parents had to be flexible. When we went to remote learning, make sure your kid has a quiet place so that they can learn. Make sure you got adequate internet. We get back to school after a year and a half. Kids have mental health issues with not feeling safe going back to school in the case of my daughters. So they go to school because that's what they have to do. They wear 2 masks throughout the day. They do not feel comfortable eating during the day, so they eat in the car when I drop them off in the morning, and they don't eat until their mother picks them up after school. If they are late to school or late to class, homeroom, 1 or 2 minutes, they have to serve a 30-minute detention. The punishment doesn't fit the crime for being late. When you have mental health issues, you don't feel safe being in the environment. And so what I'm saying is we're still in a COVID-19 pandemic. I'm calling on the board to lower the risk or exposure of kids getting COVID-19 and let's get rid of detention for kids coming to school late. My one daughter goes to City Honors. They come in late from time to time. They say, thank you for making it. Hurry up and get to class. And then we have other schools where we're punishing kids from anywhere from a half hour to an hour of further exposure to the virus. Yeah. So I'm just asking you guys to consider getting rid of it because, not only are the 2 at Performing Arts being exposed to COVID, then their sister's exposed to it, then their mother's exposed to it, then their grandmother and great-grandmother. So I just want you to think about that. We're still in a pandemic. Thank you.
And thank you, sir, for what you do for our young people. We really appreciate you.
No, thank you.
Toya, he's making a good point. I would like David, you and Toya to look into this issue. I don't want kids punished once they come to school for something that may not have been in their control. Just look into what he's talking about. You handle it case by case, but I do think he makes some very good points around that issue. So make sure you contact and get back with Zaire Dorsey, McKinley High School, okay? All right, colleagues, that will do it for this time. We appreciate you coming out. We want you to continue to be safe. So please have a pleasant evening, and thank you all for what you do to support the Buffalo Public Schools. Thank you very much. Miss Eleanor Calla. Miss Calla. Thank you. Thank you.